We're looking at entire pieces this week, a few of them, because we are starting to deal with design decisions that have to do with story. VFX tell a story. Crazy, right? So here, the student has created a good deal of intrigue with this, whatever it is. I want to call it a seed or an egg, whatever this is that's coming down. And I love it. I didn't really love the delivery, i.e., something needs to happen with it. And I think it's just a simple choice here. So I'll show you what I mean. This was done with just some solids and masks. And all I'm going to do is just change the shape of the mask a little bit. So I'll break some handles here. Like that. And I'm only doing this on one frame, of course. And then the center, same basic idea. So this was just a lost opportunity. And as you work on these and get them ready for your reel, if that's your ambition, then I really encourage you to simplify. This one element was so strong in this case that, I would let the piece be dominated just by this. So with a shape more like that, then, I can animate that out. And as I maybe do my kind of nuclear blast or whatever's going to happen here, which definitely did feel like it should light up the room. And I would definitely have these reach right out to the edges. But in any case, that would tell us something about the mysteries of physics and who knows what. We get information from these kind of visuals. Similarly, the hologram, let's see if I can go to the relevant frame. Yeah, so as it's coming in, and by the way, he's a little short, which is okay. Maybe that was just my expectation, but it didn't seem proportional to the room, so I was distracted by it. And this effect here, again, what does this tell us about this world? And I'm not going to fill up that answer for you. Just take a second, look at this. What I see here again is some boundaries around something that maybe isn't so finite and some flatness where we might want some dimension. So maybe these things should be rings. Maybe they should ripple out more rather than feeling like he's in kind of a box here. So that's just how little design decisions can give you information that may turn you on or turn you off to what you're looking at. You might have also noticed in this one that the student was keeping the screen animations pretty simple and focusing on the glitching, which is really nice and kind of tight. And I thought I'd delve into that. So these scan lines, which are kind of from old television, are working for me because they're just very narrow and they're displacing the scene in a pleasing way. So digging in here a little bit, this is mostly achieved with really simple effects. Here we have fast box blur, hue and saturation levels. I'll just toggle that one on and off. So that's really glitching things out in a cool way. And there's certain animated moments of that. Here is the overall screen glitch. And you might have noticed what I would call a chromatic aberration effect, or separating the R, G, and B, having them kind of come apart for specific moments. Again, if I expose the keyframes, this is a place where that should be happening, but we have a missing effect. This is an effect from Red Giant Universe. And the thing is, you don't need the effect to do this. So let me just show you really quick how to do what the student did here. Actually, before I do that, I did want to point out there's a displacement map on here, and it is having a pleasing effect on the frame. However, there was a lot of trouble taken to set it to this layer itself, which is just an empty displacement layer, and even set it for masks, although there are none here. And if I reset, notice that the horizontal displacement is set to 32. That's really the only thing here that's doing anything, because this frame is just an empty frame, and the displacement map uses the RGB variation to displace. So if I reset this and then just put the max horizontal displacement back at 32, we have the exact same effect. So I think that the student was just not clear on the concept of how displacement maps work. So hopefully that will help you. Normally you would want to set the layer to something with actual image information, and that would change the displacement based on that. So specifically in this case, it's going to this glow layer and looking at the red channel. And because we have it set to source, it's not looking at the effects, so that's what it's using. And then it's going to the green channel for the other direction of displacement and using the luminance here. So the more luminance, the more displacement. So in the spirit of making your own effects, let's cook up a recipe to separate RGB and glitch it. This is not going to be an effect. This is going to be right on the layer itself, this layer. And so to begin, what I'll do is set the channel, shift channels effect. And let's start by just making this one red. So red will be set to red, green will be off, as will blue. And now I have just the red channel. I'm gonna set a little expression here for the position. And what I want to do, I'm going to use this glitch layer, this adjustment layer, by adding an expression control to it, which I will call glitch. And for the values, I'm going to use the ones that were already in here. So I'll copy the distortion effect, which is keyframed here, go back to where that starts. And so I need to reveal my glitch effect here. There it is. And we're just going to paste this in. So now we just have a slider with those values to which I will pick whip the position. But I'm not just going to use the straight value. I'm going to use this for a wiggle. So wiggle is under property. And I don't like that it puts all this stuff between parentheses when the only ones you have to worry about are these two. So 2 arguments, if you've already shut down because expressions freak you out, pay attention for a second, because all you have to do is wiggle, parentheses freak, comma amp. Freak, as you can imagine, is the frequency with which it will do its thing. And we're just gonna make this 24. Yes, I know I'm a stickler about sticking to 23.976 when we're working that way, but in this case, come on. And then amplitude is going to be achieved by pick whipping right up to that slider we just made. So let's see what the net effect is of that. Okay, so it's wiggling up to 15 on the position. So we had no wiggle, then we went wiggle. Great. So now we just need that for 2 more layers. So I'll call this one R, duplicate it, call this one G, and switch these around. So this one is off, but the green is set to green. And then same again for, you guessed it, blue, full off, that's blue. And then to combine them, we will make them all add layers. And there is our separation of RGB glitch. Ta-da! Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Let's move on to another example. Now, there's plenty I could talk about on this one. One thing that I was a little troubled by, but also interested in, is the mixture of free-form elements and ones that are very tightly bound by boundaries, screen rectangles. I wanted to see less rectangles, honestly. But that aside, the reflections are looking good. The main thing I wanted to call out about this one, though, is this interesting choice to put a bunch of rats on the floor. So this is an element that the student found, royalty-free, that has matted, oh, actually, no, they are green screen rats. Okay, awesome. So great, fun, kooky idea. I'm not sure I would do it, but I love that it was done. The only thing is, if you notice, they're not really matching the movement of the scene. They're kind of drifting around independent of the camera move. Let me see if I can clearly show this without choking too much. Yeah, so they are just in their own position. And there's a good reason for that. We have our 3D track, and the layer that they're on is not 3D. Now, this layer is facing the camera, so it's only going to occupy one point in Z space. So there's a little bit of a parallax problem because these mice are occupying different positions in Z space. On the other hand, they were shot that way. So let's see if we can get away with this. I turned on 3D and they disappeared. And I'm sorry about this ugly view. I just have it cranked up a little bit so you can see them. I'm gonna scoot this up. I'm using the arrow key to carefully stay on the same plane. There are some rats. Let's see what happens now that they're 3D. And now they're gonna move with the floor. And I think the gag, might actually work. If you were really needing them to match specific points on the floor, probably not. I still do see some problems with these ones in the foreground, they're not moving properly. So we might need to kind of either mat them out or scoot this back down to where we only see kind of a limited set of these guys. But I actually think it would work. By the way, in this case, the student just used basically a black plane to take out the tracks. We've got some noise on it, which is great. And, basically it works because I'm cranking up the exposure, which is hopefully never going to happen to you. You can see there's quite a bit more grain, as much as was put on here with the noise effect. The amount actually probably is beyond what you can even do with noise here, especially since there's a darken effect. So all the highlights in the noise are now getting lost. So that's not really working. But in any case, if you weren't being as particular as I was about having this still work, even if you flash the blacks in the lights off position, it's good enough. This one, again, there are some things that are working, some things not so much. The tracks aren't removed. But what I want to focus on in terms of the spirit of make your own effects are the transitions here. And specifically, let's just look at this right here, because it really stood out. It reads really well at this size and doesn't seem like it was that complicated, actually. So here are some layers, and I'm just going to focus in on what's going on with this transition here. So unpacking this a little bit, there is a displacement layer, and that is set to this edge comp. And the edge comp looks like this. Now, how did the student get the edge held out? Ooh, it glitches hard right there. Let's take a look in here. So this matte edge looks like that. And so I wanted to show you this because actually I need to go one comp even further down. So this effect, curves effect here that's doing it, if I turn that off, we just have foreground, edge, and background. And the student wanted just the edge. So look at this curves control and how it is sharply falling off toward pure white and black and just preserving the middle. And look how well that succeeded in selecting just those edges, which then became the whole driving factor of this whole transition. So really, really nice job. I'm not sure what's going on with my rendering right now on that frame, but nice job on that one. So that is going to do it for this round of the tracking mark. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your hard work.